This is a planning meeting for
Tuesday, 26th.
Tuesday, the 26th of August. May we have apologies for absence?
We do, yes, we have one from Councillor Vicky Ponchek, who is away on, she's away on holiday, actually. That's a funeral, that's it, apologies. And we have Councillor Jill Haynes, who's very kindly substituting for her.
Thank you. Any declaration of interest from anyone?
Oh, yeah, there's one, 3 Wheatfield Avenue, friends of my parents. So I will,
Through Wheatfield.
yeah.
Got a note of that.
Yes, I've just made a note, yeah.
The minutes of the previous meeting, which is on the 5th of August, is everyone happy with those?
Yeah, I am.
Thanks, Jane. Fine, those, thank you.
Very much. Chairman's report on urgent items
No, we haven't, no, neither of those, Chair.
and any public questions this evening.
No, none have been received.
Any letters of objection you want to raise before we get into the?
I have received not a letter of objection as per se, actually, it's a letter of support from an applicant for one of the applications that we're due to consider.
Lovely.
Yeah, so he's asked for me to read out his statement.
Great, thank you. So we're going to do applications registered weekending the 1st, 8th and 15th of August, which start on page 10. So the following are not going to be discussed this evening. That is 5/20/25, 1273, 1324, 1307, 1224, 1197, 1322, 1315, 1337 and 1415. So we will start on 5/20/25, 1390, which is 22 Holcroft Road.
Okay, property is mid-terrace with the positioning of the property set in a slightly staggered building line and slope on the road. Therefore, the property's ridge lines are set lower as the road slopes down towards number 24 Holcroft Road. At ground floor, it's proposed to add a small extension at the front of the existing lobby projection, extend to the boundary of number 20 Holcroft Road along the side and extend the existing rear projection to expand the ground floor living accommodation and add a study. At first floor, it's proposed to extend rearwards by 3 metres to add a bedroom, which will be 3 in total, partially over the full width of the ground floor rear element, leaving a 1 metre clearance to the boundaries on both sides. The rear extension takes the form of a gable-sided roof, therefore reducing impact of the loss of light to the neighbouring properties. Although the 45-degree visibility zone for possible impact on neighbouring properties has not been shown. There appears to be off-street parking provision for just one car, which is insufficient to meet the SADC parking standards of 2.5 parking spaces. There are no tree works and it's not conservation area. And I'll say consider, whilst the committee has no objection in principle to the proposal subject to no loss of immunity to neighbouring properties from the first floor rear extension, the committee do express concern that there appears to be insufficient parking provision for the proposed number of bedrooms in the property. Policy ESD2 of the neighbourhood plan and policies 40 and 72 of the district plan reflects.
Any comments on?
Well, I think that's right, what Heather is saying. In fact, before the meeting, we just started talking about these parking requirements by SADC. And the trouble is that it's not a material planning consideration. Therefore, if we try refusing or recommending refusal, it wouldn't
Hold it. Yeah. Anyone else? I'm happy with Heather's. Everyone happy to go with Heather's comment? Perfect, thank you. We are now on 5/20/25 1351, which is 1339 13B Whiting's Close.
Okay, this
Looks
committee
familiar.
has seen a number of applications for development on this plot, which ranged in scale and bulk, all of which were refused by the LPA or withdrawn by the applicant. This proposal is for a more modest scheme to what has been proposed in the past and takes the form of a single-storey bungalow with 1 bedroom, a bathroom and an open plan living space. The ridge height is 5.3 metres, which is more sympathetic to the surroundings and is akin to the heights of other bungalow dwellings in the town. A single parking space is provided, which is sufficient. Currently on the site of the proposed dwelling are 2 garages that provide parking for 13A and 13B Whitings Close. The garages were constructed following a separate application to the approved application for the construction of 2 one-bedroom apartments in a side extension to 13 Whitings Close. Therefore, they were not constructed as part of the planning permission for the new dwellings, which are numbers 13A and B. However, parking is at a premium in the close, and the loss of these 2 garages and the additional dwelling in the street could lead to further parking issues. The addition of the property also reduces the amenity space allocated to 13B Whitings Close. Overall, the addition of a property in this location creates a cramped form of development, leading to a detrimental impact on the existing occupants of 13A and 13B Whitings Close, with a less than satisfactory outlook and living environment for the future occupants of the dwelling. So at the point that I wrote the this recommendation for the agenda, I suggested recommend refusal. The proposed new dwelling is an unacceptable form of development in this location, leading to a cramped appearance and unacceptable impact and loss of amenity to residents in the locality and on future occupants of the new dwelling. Concern is also expressed that following the loss of 2 garages, there will be inadequate parking provision across the site for 13A and 13B Whitings Close. Policies ESD21, ASD 1 and 2 and T11 of the NAPER plan, and policies 39, 40, 69 and 70 of the district plan affairs. So since the agenda has been issued, I have received a statement or comment from the applicant, Mr. Kluwer, who was unable to attend this evening, but has asked that this be read out at the meeting. So he says, we respectfully submit that the officer's recommendation refusal appears to be unduly influenced by previous applications and is not considering the current proposal in isolation against relevant planning policies. We therefore urge the committee to base its decision solely on policy matters relating to this specific application. We acknowledge the number of previous applications for this site. At each stage, we have sought to amend subsequent proposals in direct response to feedback from residents and officers. The principle of residential development has already been recognised by the planning officer in earlier assessments. A strategy has therefore been to refine successive schemes to address concerns raised, rather than reintroduce proposals already deemed unacceptable. Under the parking comments, the scheme provides 1 new parking space for the proposed dwelling in accordance with the policy. As commented by the officer, this results in a net gain of parking provision compared with the requirements of the previously approved scheme for 13, 13A and 13B. The proposal also reconfigures the visitors' parking space to allow for improved access. The existing garages have never been used for resident parking. As confirmed by Highways consultation response, the loss of garage does not necessarily equate to the loss of usable parking. We'd also comment that parking requirements have been established on a number of occasions in the previous applications, which have not considered the loss of the garages as relevant to subsequent parking provision. For the comment on amenity space for 13B, the current amenity space for 13B is currently neither allocated nor demarked. This proposal provides a clearly defined policy compliant amenity space for 13B. The scheme improves the outlook for 13A and 13B. At present, rearward views are of an unkempt patch of grass and double garages. The proposal would replace this with an attractive, well-maintained residential property, fenced gardens, landscape lawns and new trees, thereby enhancing the visual amenity of the immediate area. We do not accept the officer's comments as correct. The footprint of the proposed dwelling is broadly equivalent to that of the existing garages and results in no substantive development. The primary change arises from the necessary introduction of a pitched roof, which is required for a residential property. This scheme provides no substantive change in footprint for this scheme vis-a-vis the existing garages, thus dealing with the previous objections related to bulk and mass. Conclusion is this proposal further addresses objections raised in earlier applications, complies with the relevant policies on parking, community space and design, and provides a net improvement to the appearance and functionality of the site. We therefore request that the committee consider the application on its individual merits without prejudice from previous applications and approve the scheme in line with policy requirements. So that is from the applicant, but also online is a letter of objection from resident number 7 Whitings Close. saying this application for further dwelling on this site has already been rejected twice before. Do persons keep submitting until an approval is granted? Question mark. It's already a nightmare for parking in this close. It's not in keeping with the rest of the housing. No one person in Whiting's Close wants it. So,
Is 13B above or below 13A?
it's either or, they're like kind of masonettes.
Yeah. Okay. Any thoughts?
Well, I'm trying to understand 13A and 13B. Is this a common landlord?
Yes, so I believe that Mr. Kluwer owned or owns 13. A planning application some time ago was submitted to basically put a side extension on which created extra habitable dwellings, which created 13A and 13B. As part of that requirement, they had to provide amenity space and parking, which over the course of time has chopped and changed and juggled and extended and reduced depending on the applications that have been submitted, because they've gone from rather large scale properties down to a lesser, down to the one that we've got now, which essentially is on the footprint of the existing garages at 13A and 13B.
So it's a relatively small new dwelling.
In comparison, yeah.
Are there any other letters of objection on the DC site?
No, not as of today.
Following the comment from Nuber resident. Right.
Yes, my comment is that no one wants it, but the others have.
There's only
Well,
one
Objected.
objection.
On that point, whilst the individual merits of the application need to be considered, when you go through the SADC portal with respect to other applications made by this owner of this property, several neighbours have complained over the years. There's been applications since 2017,
Yeah,
variations of this, so I don't think the presence of one and not more suggests that that assertion is wrong. Some of these are really quite strongly worded. And the other thing is they seem to, I mean, this point about the amenities, I'm really quite inclined to agree with. There's a photograph of, I think it's 4 applications in the last 2 years, and there's a photograph.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't covered them all off, to be honest, on here. I've done sort of the last 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's a photograph on the 24 application of a general state of parking on the street, and I think the point about a lack of parking spaces is substantially appropriate.
But as you just mentioned, parking isn't an issue
I know.
with SADC. I mean, this is the smallest one they've proposed, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's basically a studio. Kind of 1 bedroom.
Kind of, it's quite tricky to sort of kind of to tell from the images that I'm able to obtain. But it is a relatively tight space.
It's 2 stories, C and D, yeah.
So no, that was a refused application, that one.
Oh,
And there's
Just
just
13C, yeah.
I seem to recall in the neighbourhood plan, requirement though for properties to still have a level of amenity space. Is
Yeah.
that right?
So
And would this provide sufficient amenity space under the terms of the neighbourhood plan?
yes,
Just.
yeah,
Right.
just because of what they're proposing to put there is essentially a 1 bedroom bungalow, which is,
Well,
as you know, a reduced amenity space. Yeah, I suppose kind of my comment also related to the future outlook of the residents, the future residents of this property, that ultimately they will be looking out into parking areas directly outside their window.
I mean, he does look like he's readdressed St Albans' most recent refusal.
I actually agree with that. I think, and I think that's the other thing that, you know, each of the applications shows there's a level of iteration here in line with the concerns. But the way this application reads to me is, and Heather, you're the expert, so
Not necessarily.
I'd like some input here if you think this isn't appropriate. But this reads to me as a bare minimum application, which is being changed to reach that bare minimum point, and that's why there's such a high number of applications.
Yeah, so I think, you know, ultimately any applicant will go in with with what they would love to achieve. And then over the course of time, depending on feedback from officers, they will pare it back and to hopefully get to a scheme that is deemed to be acceptable. And we've got to a point where we are down to a 1 bedroom bungalow with open plan living accommodation and a very small amenity space.
It's going to look at in corners, isn't it? It's,
Yes,
and I know look isn't necessarily a planning issue, but I think for residents, it's not.
I think it is really. But not, I think.
Aesthetic, yeah.
Yeah.
In
So-
keeping.
I know with
In keeping.
other applications, officers do very much take on board the future outlook of the proposed occupants.
Yeah,
Of this, ultimately, they're going to be looking out onto, this kind of, if you look sort of here, that is basically what they'll be looking out onto.
Are there any of SADC's refusal reasons that he's not met? Bulk has been reduced. Seems he's addressed parking.
I think the one that I made reference to related to the cramped form of development, which I still feel
It's valid.
could be
Yeah.
relevant.
Yeah.
To this. I mean, interestingly, the last application that we were not in favour of was withdrawn. So the district council haven't provided us with a, reason for refusal that we're able to compare. Bearing in mind that that was a scaled back version of the previous application, which was for a 4-bedroom detached dwelling. This was 2 1-bedroom flats. So a much smaller development, but they withdrew it, so we're not able to see what the officer's view was on a reduced scheme again. But it's entirely up to you if you feel that the applicant has addressed.
I'm trying to understand the scale, so I can't read it quite on here. It's a scale in the ground floor plan.
1.5.
Fine.
What's
I'm just trying to picture in my own mind what the space of this living area is. It's got the kitchen within it as well, hasn't it? Or a space for a kitchen facilities of some.
Let's pop this in, right?
It's featuring a living area as well. So
It's small.
It is
Very,
small.
very cramped.
The other thing, I mean, so he's effectively what's happened is number 13 was there. There's been an extension out over the garage and that's been turned into 13A and 13B, and now it's 13C and 13D down the other end. It doesn't seem in the first instance that this, this planning application passed after several iterations and essentially has come back for more flats. Now I wonder, I mean, this isn't a reason to reject this application, but is this just a case of putting so, and I think that comment from the neighbour is correct, is this just put so many planning applications through that eventually you get to where you initially wanted to be? Because we're now looking for flats.
No, it's not, it's just one now.
It's just one.
It's bungalow one.
So I think ultimately,
Oh, so is that outdated then, C and D?
If you go on, it says, I
But
missed
they-
that far.
That's what
but
it
it's
is.
That's
reviewed, so I tried to sort of kind of,
So
show
this is
you.
just for C.
It's just 13C.
Yeah.
Can I understand the ground floor plan as well? This wavy, is that another exit or a French door?
It's a bifolding door that goes out into the
Right.
utility, sorry, the amenity space
Yeah,
in the back garden. So ultimately this, looking at the previous application that I sort of popped on here, is that the refused application was for essentially 2 of the versions of this, an upstairs and a ground floor version of this bungalow that we've now got.
So where's the 4-bed coming into this?
So that was
that
refused.
was a few.
That was ages ago.
So is that, so you've got 4-bed, then you've got 2 flats, now
Yeah.
you've got 1 bungalow.
So yeah, so no, so it started to like, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yes.
down to one bed.
We were in a caravan. so-
One bed, one bed.
Is anyone ready to, does anyone want to do anything different to what Heather's suggesting?
No, I'm happy with the officer's comments. I think it's extremely cramped and I think he's squeezing a quarter into
I'm
a
just
pot, quite frankly.
trying to understand which bit of the policy. Like what, obviously, isn't it along the technical lines of the policy, which I think is the point of the applicant's comment. So like, as in, I'm struggling to see what we're pointing to here. I mean, it's clearly, there's been a level of scope creep and frivolous applications, but in this specific instance, I'm trying to pin down in my head what specifically we're saying, that's the thing that you've not resolved.
So I think really ultimately what we're probably the crux of it is that we don't feel that development is right in this location in a roundabout way. I think, you know, so the wording that I put down here, proposed new dwelling is an unacceptable form of development in this location, leading to a cramped appearance, unacceptable impact and loss of amenity to the residents.
So that's impossible to resolve.
So I think that
Yeah.
putting garages there was absolutely fine, and that's why you got planning permission for it, but to put a dwelling there, maybe in our view,
Right.
stretch too far. Yeah, but that's, you know, that's my interpretation of it, whether you feel differently.
So we've heard from Johnson. Jill, are you content with?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's.
Is it a case then that the garden that would have been there has essentially been taken out for garages that were approved? So like obviously it's sort of like a triangle, like almost like a wedge shaped property. So is it the case that that would have been that garden for all intents and purposes, and then the extra garage space been put in?
I honestly don't know the historical
Right.
sort of kind of nature of the site. The 13 A and B were added some time ago as this extension
Yeah.
to the site, and at that stage I couldn't tell you what there necessarily was at the back there, whether or not it was just parking provision. It
Yeah.
could have been that there were garages that were there to service. I honestly, yeah, I don't honestly know.
Okay,
I agree with your comments.
so we're going with your recommendation on that.
Yeah.
Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now 5/2025 which is 1 Roundwood Gardens.
Okay, the property is located on the end of the road with the garden number 4 Park Rise to the side. This application is a resubmission following refusal of a scheme which looked to extend the main property, incorporating the gap between the house and the garage and extending above the garage to the same ridgeline as the house dwelling. This was refused for the reasons detailed above, which ultimately was incongruous development. This new scheme is much more sympathetic, focusing the development to the main dwelling placed above the existing flat roof garage, as was the case in the refused scheme. Flat roof garage footprint is being incorporated into the footprint of the main house, but there is no first floor added and it retains a flat roof design. First floor accommodation is being added above the existing flat roof element to the main house. Characteristic gable roof design of properties in this section of the street is being retained to the side of number 3 Roundwood Gardens. An additional bedroom is added to total 4, along with existing bedrooms being enlarged. Overall, this proposal is much more in keeping with the host dwelling and surroundings. The garage is lost, but 3 off-street parking spaces are being retained straight provided. There's a TPO cedar tree in the garden with due consideration given to protect this tree, along with modified foundations to the proposed extensions. There was no tree removal planned, not conservation area, and I've said consider no objections subject to the previous reasons refusal being fully addressed.
Please, out of interest.
So we said, looking here, that we were, was the committee have no objection in principle to the design and style of proposed changes and extensions, but do express concern that there could be a loss of amenity to number 4 Park Rise.
Fine.
There is insufficient parking provision provided on the plot for the number of bedrooms
Okay.
exacerbated by the loss of garage.
Anyone, everyone happy with? Yeah. Very much.
I think they've made efforts to address the issue.
We now go on to 5/2025 which is 3 Wheatfield Avenue. Someone's just.
So I just check this is the one that you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So I shall duly record that. The property sits in a spacious plot in the road, which is characterised by space around the properties and open frontages. Most visible element of the works proposed is a 2-storey side extension over the existing cat slide roof towards number 1 Wheatfield Avenue, which is a sizable property in its own right. The extension provides a 5th bedroom with dressing room and ensuite. The ground floor flat roofed extension over the footprint of the existing conservatory and a small addition to the existing family room is also proposed. The design appears to be in keeping with the other properties in the street scene, which all differ in design and scale. Single garage is retained as part of the scheme and there is ample parking provision on frontage, not conservation area and no tree work. I've said consider no objection. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. 2025 1383 does not meet the criteria. And we are now on to 2025 1394, which is 11 Townsend Road.
Okay, the property is detached with detached properties either side. The right hand with a much higher ridgeline and the left with the lower ridgeline, which is created due to the strong slope of the road towards number 9. Proposed at the front is a 2-storey extension projecting approximately 1 metre forward of the existing building line, ensuring the building line remains behind that of the neighbouring number 13, which currently projects 1.5 metres forward of number 11. Extension projects approximately 1.1 metres forward of the existing front double-storey bay at both ground and first floor levels. The rear, a full width single-storey extension projecting 5.2 metres beyond the rear wall of the original house, which is 1.9 metres beyond the existing conservatory. The first floor extension extending 1.8 metres beyond the existing rear wall. Proposed includes gable roofs positioned higher than the existing ridgeline. The footprints of the neighbouring properties appear to extend further forwards and rearwards than the current application property. Therefore, the proposed extensions do not appear to have a detrimental impact on them. There's ample parking provision in the frontage for 4 cars. No tree works are proposed, and the site is in the conservation area. And I've just said consider no objection.
Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. So applicant number 5 2025 1360 1491 and 1290 do not meet the criteria for this meeting. We're now on 5 2025 1455, which is 64 Wheatley Road.
A proposed is looking to add a gable roofed 2-storey extension to the front to marginally extend the existing living room and extend an existing bedroom at first floor. Extension projects approximately 1 metre forward. At the rear, a ground floor extension which fills in the gap to the rear and extends marginally further rearwards, along with a further bedroom added over part of the proposed ground floor extension. Ground floor rear extension is planned. There are no additional bedrooms added in terms of number, just enlargement. There are a number of internal alterations and reconfigurations taking place. Due to the positioning of the neighbouring properties on a slight curve, so it should be slight curve, proposed extensions do not appear to have a detrimental effect on them. The garage is lost, but there is parking provision for 2 cars on the frontage. There are no tree works proposed as part of the proposal. Not conservation area. Obviously, consider no objections, subject to no detrimental impact on the neighbouring properties. Policy is to chair the neighbourhood plan and 72 of the district plan affairs.
Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
5 2025 1208 does not meet the criteria. But 5 2025 1286 does, and it's 1 Wheatfield Road.
Okay, this is a bit of our old friend, really, 1 Wheatfield Road. The applicant for this site has submitted a number of applications for the demolition and replacement of the dated and in need of a modernisation property, which sits on the plot with a modern building, it sits on the plot with a modern building which utilises the space that. These applications have been refused on the basis it could not be proven that the existing property is not fit for purpose or that the application would be exempt from delivering BNG. This application is now for a series of extensions to extend the existing property. The scheme is actually more modest than what was proposed in the replacement dwelling applications and fits in well with the location and street scene. The plot is good size with the gardens of properties in the uplands to one side and an infill dwelling to the other side. Design and scale are very similar to others in close proximity and looks to be a good addition to the street scene. Existing garages to be demolished and replaced. There's also additional parking provision on the frontage, not conservation area, consider no objection.
Everyone happy with that? Yeah. At last.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the last few are, do not meet the criteria. They are 5 2025 1445, 1328, 1328, and 1471. We have 2 exactly the same.
Exactly the same number?
Yeah.
Maybe there's been an error, just say no. Oh, I think it's probably just that the number's been, hasn't been changed
Yeah.
They're different applications. It's just.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My,
So just for clarity,
Colleague
that's been on the green and it's 18 Malton Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
the numbering.
Any appeals to raise to the?
No appeals have been received for this period.
And then tree works?
Nothing of any particular note.
No. And then any St Albans District Council decisions?
Nothing that I want to draw your attention to on this occasion.
Lovely. And then the next meeting of technical applications, nothing.
No, nothing that's significant.
And then the next meeting is Tuesday the 16th. September.
Quite worrying. So was that the meeting that there were some councillors that were unable to attend? Was I overhearing what
I
you're saying?
attend the one on 16.
It's the one that started COVID.
Okay, we'll come to that then.
Yeah.
Of course.
Sorry, what was the date for the next one?
16th of September.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
Sorry, Jane, I thought you were there. So quiet.
Yeah,
Unusual.
I am still here. It's just I was planning to get back to get the dog home and things, and I just couldn't get through the traffic in order to do it.
That's okay.
That's okay. Lovely. Right,
Sorry.
all good. Meeting closed 8 to 10.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Thanks again, Jane.
Thanks, Jane.
See you again
Thank
soon.
you.